All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here to our 2019 Vision Gathering. So just over a year ago, we had our first ever Tallgrass Church Vision Gathering at Flint Hills Christian School Gym. Who was there for that initial one in January? Cool. Hey, thanks for still being here. And thanks for those who weren't here that are around. So, and welcome to all visitors and guests, family and friends that are with us. So in the future, probably a meeting like this might be more for our membership, but as we've launched this church and the size we are, it's been really nice that we can gather in a small setting like this and have eat together and just hear from one another. So tonight, there'll be opportunity to share and ask questions and share some neighboring stories later, so you can be thinking about that. And hopefully we can encourage one another. We've been super blessed as a new church plant. If you've been around, hopefully you have experienced that and feel that, blessed by just new people coming around, our facilities, our the different things we've been able to do, and even blessed financially. It's been awesome. And so we're excited to celebrate some of that. So if any of the other elders or elder spouses want to chime in at any time, you're welcome to. I will say Ron and Barb are traveling all month, which that in and of itself is an answer to prayer, an amazing miracle, as Barb just had a lung transplant, 6 months ago? So it's pretty awesome that they're not here with us, although we miss them very much. And Ricky's in with the kids, so I was like, hey, we're Vision Gathering. You want to be in here with us? Maybe people have questions. He's like, no, I want to serve with the kids tonight, and which is great, just like Jesus. So a couple weeks ago we talked about that. Jesus probably would have been trying to get in with the kids a lot. So just one quick announcement I'll mention. Our marriage retreat is March 15 to 16. I've heard from some of you, and we're excited. We're going to do pretty much the same type of content we did last fall. And if you went last fall and you're like, we need more marriage retreat, or we just want to get away again, you can jump in with us for free. It's only $20 a couple. That covers the participants' guides. And if you know anyone who's engaged and not yet married, they're welcome to join us as well. So I wanted to be sure to mention that because it's coming up real quick. And it seems like we have just, we've been disrupted from our rhythm, our routine. So thanks for sticking with us through all the communication, all the different things we've done, meeting up with different churches, pushing our central gathering early because of Chief stuff. We canceled our central gathering for the Super Bowl. That sounds terrible. However, we're all about neighboring, so hopefully I heard some great stories about people that were able to connect. We had a great party too. So thanks for sticking with us through all that. I wanted to share just a couple verses because I was like, oh, we're meeting, but I'm not really preaching a sermon. What scripture do we throw up there? And this last week, many of you know Matthew Schmitz. He just shared with me a verse he'd been ruminating on, and so it reminded me of this passage. And delight yourself in the Lord always; He'll give you the desires of your heart. And then I looked it up and was thinking about the verse that comes before it, and I thought it was a good verse just for our community as we've, as a church plant, we've got these 8, 9, 10 months under our belt. Still a young church plant, but God has done some great things, and so now it's time to be faithful plodding in the small things and see that God might show up. So this is Psalm 37, 3-4 says this: trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and befriend faithfulness. Or that phrase, befriend faithfulness, could also be translated feed on faithfulness. And so the idea that God is faithful even when we're unfaithful. And really our call is not to do amazing things as much as just walk in those faithful good works He has for us. And then verse 4, delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. I think that applies to us individually. I'm looking forward to 2019 and living this out Maris and I in our home as well, but also as a church family. We want to together delight in what God delights in, the things He cares about, and then experience Him giving us the desire of our heart too. So I wanted to share that verse, and then we'll reflect on it later too. Before we move on, I wanted to just say one of the things I'm so excited about in our church life is our growing staff team, growing paid staff team. And so we brought on Dylan Oglesby with a small monthly stipend. So he started from day one coordinating Tallgrass Youth, done an awesome job. They did all the food stuff tonight, and then we're going to give a little kickback for their summer activities. So we're going to start the fundraising process for whatever he and the youth are dreaming up for that. So if you don't mind, give it up for Tallgrass Youth and Dylan. Absolutely. And the thing is, it's not just that. Dylan has done a great job, and he's super excited to be on the team, the staff team, and involved in the life of our church. But also the youth that he has around him are awesome, to the point where they're every week like, are we meeting? What's the plan? Are we having a Super Bowl party? Let's have a Super Bowl party. So in many ways, the youth are pushing him along, which is what you want. You want ownership in each aspect of our church life. So I wanted to mention that, and then just have Dylan pray for us, kick off our time, if you don't mind.
Lord, thank you for a moment to stop and be still, know your presence, know you're here with us. I thank you for a group here that are willing to come together and just get outside of the norm and talk about what you're doing, and the excitement and the love that's shown so far in our small church. Yeah, help us to keep moving forward, to keep neighboring well, and to just love you. In your son's name I pray.
Amen. Okay. Let's see what's next. Oh, so we have a new Sprouts coordinator that I will introduce to you all. Just a little bit for those that don't know. Sprouts is, you guessed it, our kids ministry. So infant through 6th grade. And so we opened up this role in January. We shared some about our budgeting process in a previous announcement. It's all on the website if you want to listen to that. And so we've gone through our first hiring process. It was great. We had a great interview team of myself, Dave Geldart, Ron Goodman, and we pulled Jermaine Dillon into that, so that was great. If you read our bylaws and Constitution, which I'm sure all of you have refreshed your memory on that, one of the things that membership gives input on is the hiring of new staff. Well, we kind of grandfathered Dylan in. You can give input on this person I'll introduce to you for 2 weeks, but it's got to be really rough feedback for us to withdraw this person from this role. So in many ways, what I'm saying is bear with us as we try to establish systems and live out our bylaws. We're a little bit fly by the seat of our pants, but at the same time, we welcome feedback really on any aspect of our church, any of the staff, and I mentioned this to Dylan. He said, well, I want feedback. If people have feedback, open it up, give me feedback. So we want to cultivate a staff team that is grace-based, yet embodies a high value of feedback and evaluation. So without further ado, introducing, drum roll please, our Tallgrass Sprouts coordinator is Alicia Hilleguy. So yeah, give it up for Alicia. Do you want to stand up for us? You don't have to. Yeah. Awesome. So most of you know Alicia. She's part of the original launch team and did an awesome job as the interim Tallgrass Kids director through the summer. And had a child and took a step back and seriously considered applying for this role and did. And she's got a great education background and wonderful experience for this role. So for the monthly stipend we're paying and what she'll be doing, it's amazing for our church plant, really, for both her and what Dylan's bringing to the table. The thing that excited me about her excitement for the role was she's really excited about the team, being a part of a team that's high functioning. So hopefully we are high functioning, and she jumped right in, and teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. And also her description of what she hopes for the teachers of our classes, that each teacher will be awesome in their own unique way. And I thought that was a great vision. Not that she would be the one teaching all the classes, obviously, but she would invest in and equip you all to do the ministry. So, Alicia, you don't have to say anything, but did you want to say anything? So we're all informal tonight. We'll just take a drink.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to come alongside whoever wants to and is willing to jump into the Sprouts and love on our kids. And I'm here to help.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. All right, so now we're going to have David Renberg's going to come up. And do you guys remember taking that 8-month Tallgrass survey back in, when was that?
Yeah.
8 months from when we started, whenever that was. And your engagement with that was awesome, online, via paper form. So thanks so much for giving your feedback. We were going to have this meeting in January, but sports ball got in the way, stuff like that. And so now we're into February. And so we'll engage with and talk through this. Did you find the color sheets, Dave?
Kinda.
Okay, there you go. I'll hand it over to you and then.
Sounds good. Yeah, so what would have been in, when did we have our elder retreat? Is that just before the new year? Yeah. So we had our elder retreat and we were talking amongst ourselves, and one of the things that we got the sense we wanted to at least understand better was people's enjoyment of our facilities, our meeting time. Obviously, it's a little bit less conventional than your typical church, and we had heard murmurings of, man, is Sunday night working for folks? So of course we decided to put together a survey and get a sense of the whole opinion, as opposed to just hearing, maybe one voice here or one voice there. So we appreciate everybody's participation in that. We actually had a really high number of responses. And we tried to make it the right length. I feel like we can always try to capture more data. So we really tried to think through what are the best or maybe most pressing questions that we have that we want to help understand. And really, this was very practical in nature. How could we be doing better as an elder team? What are the people's feedbacks on time and facilities? So I'll kind of go over the summary, I guess, as I saw it. So we had a lot of qualitative data, which I put on pie charts here for you guys, and then on the back, little bar graphs. And then we have a lot of, quantitative data, and now we have a lot of qualitative data that I tried to summarize in my own words on the front. Maybe the most periodically stated things through the survey. So overall on our facilities, we had very positive feedback. We did have a lot of comments about it feeling like a labyrinth, which maybe it seemed more in jest than in anything, but it did seem like everybody's really grateful the size of facilities we have for being such a small church plant. We obviously, coming out of New Hope, we had a lot of setup needs and teardown needs, and that not being the case here is something that we're all seem to be very grateful for.
Especially me.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of us. Aaron loved setup, though, right? He's missing. So yeah, overall, obviously, if we were to build a brand new building, we may not lay it out the exact same way that we have here, but we're very fortunate to have the space that we have, especially for what it costs us in our budget. So that's a big deal, and we're grateful to God that we have this as early as we have it. So feedback on central gathering. So some of the more consistent feedback was having a hard time with kids, getting kids home, fed and in bed by their bedtime. Maybe Monday mornings get to be kind of challenging. Positive thing, we've had a very good sense of community. There's a lot of that, and even newer folks, seemed like felt that even if they didn't come out of the New Hope plant. A lot of really great feedback on bringing the kids in for music at the end. So that was something that we had just started to experiment with, and we were kind of curious, like, okay, is that a helpful thing? And people had just, actually that was probably the most stated thing on the qualitative data, was that they liked having the kids in the central gathering. It alleviates our teachers to come in and mingle. It helps parents not have to rush off to get their kids to alleviate teachers. And it just makes it a little easier to hang out afterwards and get to visit with folks in central gathering instead of really feeling hurried there right after it's dismissed. So let's see, highlights from the chart. So something I personally was a little concerned with was, okay, how are we feeling about Sunday nights? How are we feeling about our location? How are we feeling about having our own facilities versus sharing? Because one of the things through our elder retreat, it's easier to find something for Sunday evenings, but to find something Sunday mornings, that's where buying a building or all these other types of options have to be considered, because there isn't a place that accommodates a church really easily on Sunday mornings, because those are all churches who meet in those buildings Sunday mornings. So we spent a lot of time talking and thinking creatively, and then we kind of stopped ourselves like, is this even a conversation we need to be having, which has brought us to this survey. So as you can see, over 70% felt neutral to positive about meeting on Sunday evenings. Over half, over 50% actually said they prefer Sunday evenings over Sunday mornings. So that's notable. That alleviates some of the pressure on leadership to feel like we got to figure out a Sunday morning option. Although we're not disregarding that, we don't at least feel a ton of pressure to heaped on us to, okay, we got to figure out something for Sunday mornings. Another notable thing that, I guess wasn't my perception, over 85% felt neutral to positive about owning real estate, with over half preferring that we would own real estate. I don't know that we're quite at that stage yet, but that's something that's noteworthy. We wanted to get a pulse of how do people feel about that as an option from the onset, even if, that's years down the road. And then if you look on the back, I found this kind of helpful because a lot of our congregation is Wamego, that Highway 24 corridor. So we kind of tried to help rank it from the west side of town all the way over to Wamego, and you can see the bar charts with the least. So 1 would be I very much dislike that, with 5 being that would be my biggest preference. You'll notice that the east side of Manhattan and the center of Manhattan alienate the fewest number of people, so like on the center of Manhattan, 2 and 1 response that, are dislike that location, and 1 and 4 responses for the east side, whereas there's much higher negative marks on the rest of the potential meeting locations. So it seems like central Manhattan to east Manhattan is kind of where maybe is our best geographic center for our membership. So very practical, kind of nuts and bolts, but do you guys have any questions on survey results? Yeah, that'd be a good recent question.
Show of hands?
Yeah, does anybody like it?
Keep
Do you want to raise your hand
stand up here with
if you prefer 4 o'clock over 5 o'clock for meeting time? This is not as formal as that.
It doesn't mean it'll happen.
Right. Ish. Yeah. Okay. Anybody strongly not prefer that? Okay. Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna show up whenever you plan.
Great. Yeah, there's definitely drawbacks and the drawback would be you have to kind of cut your day off a little earlier. So if you're trying to do something at home, you kind of cut your day off in the middle. Dylan mentioned the youth have to get there that much earlier if they're meeting on Sunday evenings. So there'd definitely be different implications there. Anything else?
Yeah, you have time to share if you have questions or.
I don't know.
He doesn't want to show up.
That's it. Okay.
I would just say keep your ears open, even though we're. I was really pleased with the results of this survey in terms of the nuts and bolts of when and where we meet. It was kind of relieving to know that things are working okay for right now. I mean, we didn't really know. We just have our own little discussions sometimes, so it's really nice to know. But keep your eyes and ears open for non-traditional options. We're open to anything. Just remember, as you know, we've got lots of kids, and so if you have a college church that plants out, they can meet in a warehouse. That's fine, but we need kids locations too. So that kind of, at least it feels like it constrains our quote-unquote Sunday morning options a little bit more. But we are very interested in non-traditional options, dreaming. We would love to have kind of a unique story. If God provides some sort of facility long term, so keep dreaming with us.
Yeah, I resonate with. Oh, go ahead, Shannon.
I was just going to say, I think it's a great idea to do these kinds of surveys to get the pulse of what people are looking for and what they're thinking jives and what isn't. So I thought it was a great idea.
Definitely contrary to my pulse, so I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
I felt like it was kind of urgent to get off the Sunday evenings, but it's not the case.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were heading towards Christmas thinking, how do we meet on Sunday mornings? We're all falling apart, but the survey said something totally different.
Yeah.
Maris said to me once, it's like, I think you sense as a leadership team that moving to Sunday mornings eventually will be the right call, but that everyone who's showing up, this is working and they're here. So I think from the beginning, I've said it a few times, like I've talked to a lot of church planters or people who've been a part of church plants. They were like, oh yeah, we met on a Sunday night. And then I'm like, and we failed. So I've just heard many different concerning like omens about Sunday evenings.
At least long term.
Long term. So I always have that in the back of my mind, especially as we're still in the Bible Belt conservative community. People are looking for Sunday mornings, but we don't feel that urgency. You guys have been resilient. Same with the space. My own journey, when I first walked in here, I was like, oh, this is nostalgic. It's just like I grew up. And then about month 3 or 4, I said, this is just like the church I grew up in. So I'm on our team, I'm kind of one who likes change and likes experimentation. So thanks for sticking with us through the holidays when we were bumping all around. At one point on our Slack thread, which is where we communicate for a lot of our leadership discussions in the life of the church, I was proposing all sorts of things, and someone finally said, no more changes for a while. 5 o'clock at College Heights. And I said, okay, I'll chill out. Anyways. Yeah, any other thoughts or comments or questions for David or myself?
I have to say, I like the flexibility. I feel like you're kind of apologizing for the last few weeks, but I mean, I think it's great that you're really saying hey, great neighboring opportunity. We're going to not have church so that you guys can all have this opportunity, and we're going to move church an hour earlier because there's another opportunity. I think that's great. I like the flexibility, and I think that it's helpful that it's not rigid. And I think that that's something that all of us like about this church. Maybe just me. Yeah. But I like that it's not super rigid, and I like its flexibility, and I mean those are, I feel like, are integral pieces of who we are as a church.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, maybe early on we can get away with it more, and the experimentation, and then in life groups as well, keep experimenting and trying to reach people. I'm curious, who went to a Super Bowl party last Sunday? Just curious how it worked out. You hosted one, Bill. What are you talking about? Okay, cool. Yeah, we had a good time. Maybe there'll be opportunity later to hear some neighboring stories. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any more you wanted to?
One more thing about that, I
Yeah.
said we had some visitors that showed up to College Heights from them with College Heights, and then subsequently got plugged into Tallgrass. So I
This
don't-
guy right here?
I don't think it's necessarily we have to worry about people not being able to find us.
Mm-hmm.
They want to find us, they're going to find us.
Cool. Yeah.
My perception, maybe that's not true.
I'll tell the rest of the elder team that Meredith and Effie like all the experimentation. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, we do want to have a non-rigid mindset no matter what. It's just when I'm trying to make last minute changes when we have all the families and kids. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, we don't want to remain rigid. We want to remain flexible, get input, not hold on to things too tightly. That's good. Any other questions or comments related to that survey? Location, space, meeting time. And we have been trying to chase down tons of leads. Really, for 10 years, I've followed up with almost every building opportunity I've ever come across in this town. And like Renberg shared, it's hard because on one hand you're like, well, it's just rent. That's way cheaper. But in Manhattan, Kansas, it's not necessarily that much cheaper. And there's a lot of drawbacks when you're having to set up and tear down and all this stuff. So I was very pleased to find out that our church in general is not principally opposed to owning real estate because we are a bit informal. We think a little outside the box. And sometimes that comes with a desire to not have real estate, which costs a lot of money. But so it seems like we're in a pretty flexible spot. If the right thing comes up, we can bring it before the church body and prayerfully consider it, but we're not in a rush. So it's a summary there. Let's talk budget. All right, yeah. So we just realized we haven't talked about finances for a while. And as you know, if you've come, we don't ever pass an offering plate. We rarely mention how to give or any of that stuff. By the way, you can give online quite easily, tallgrass.church/give, or in our black box. Thanks again to Dan Chitwood for engineering and producing that stand. It's very awkward to move which means thieves can't steal it, right? Did that on purpose. So let's think a little bit about 2018 budget, how we ended. It's actually really encouraging. So last year we budgeted to get $11,754 per month, and by the end of the year we actually averaged almost $2,000 more per month than we budgeted conservatively. And that's with 2 full-time guys, Dave and myself, which is unique for a church plant. And with minimal launch gift, we got some for rent from New Hope, but no denominational support because we're non-denominational. So really, that's very encouraging. So it helped us finish 2018 with extra $15,000 income. And then also our actual income compared to our actual expenses came out as a surplus of $11,600. If you're tracking all those numbers, some of you are numbers people and are really into this stuff, some of you aren't maybe. That means we have about $50,000 in our general fund, plus another $5,000 plus, which are to designated funds. So there's funds set aside for adoption, and so we've already had the opportunity to bless 2 families with their adoption and kind of foster care type needs, which is awesome. And then we've had this neighboring fund that when we first started it, we didn't know what that exactly will be used for, but we started setting funds aside. So we've been able to bless families within our church family and also that are involved with some of you all's neighboring initiatives. And so we're kind of exploring how we can use those funds. Which, by the way, if you have a neighboring idea that's beyond your ability to follow up with, talk to us. We want to keep figuring out how to set you all up for success to do the ministry of neighboring. And that general fund, we are committed to have a 3 months excess of our budget, monthly budget, just as a safety precaution, and so that more than meets that excess needed for that checking balance. So all in all, for church planning first year, an awesome first year from a budget standpoint. Get to build on it and see what God might be up to. Very thankful, super thankful to our launch team. We had even a meeting down here. I remember it where I think Ricky and Ron shared some, and people really stepped up and gave in a sacrificial way. And then we had some outside support as well from our extended Tallgrass family, friends and family who care about Tallgrass folks. So, any questions about 2018? And then we'll just talk briefly about 2019, where we're at. Budget, money. Jesus talked a lot about money. So we'll talk about it. All right, so 2019 budget. Again, we haven't talked about money at all. We've been hit and miss with our central gatherings. So in January, income was lower than what we budgeted by $1,653, but it's still higher than our 2018 monthly budget. So it's on one hand it's discouraging, but on the other hand it's still a growth mindset. Again, if you want to hear how we approach the budget, Ron gave an announcement about that. It's on the website. This month, however, Dave Geldart, who's associate pastor but also our administrator and keeps the book, so he's the only one who knows who gives what. But he does know of $1,275 in recurring giving that's going to stop this month. It's not his best guess, not out of frustration or anything, just out of life circumstance. And so when you add that together, that'll be a difference of about $3,000 short from our more aggressive budget for 2019. Meaning there's plenty of opportunity to give, especially if you're a newer family who hasn't chimed in online to give, or considering possibly giving more. So plenty of need to grow. Let's see what else here. Oh yeah, so that's just a reminder of that reference, what we needed last year versus what we actually got monthly. Yeah, so we'll keep talking about money when we have opportunity to. Dave Renberg did a great job preaching on money. A little bit later in Luke, he's going to preach also on hospitality, which ties in a little bit with stewardship of our funds and things. We're going to talk about it because Jesus did, and it's important to his kingdom and also our happiness. So if you remember Jesus' words, it's more happy to give than to receive. So just want to give an update there. Any questions about the budget stuff at this point? So all in all, we're really strong, really healthy. Last couple months, there's plenty of opportunity and need out there. So wonderful. All right. So we're going to have time to hear some neighboring stories. Before we hear from you all, anyone remember the Tallgrass mission statement? The joke is no one ever remembers it.
We love others because God first loved us.
Close enough. I think it's because God first loved us. Maybe it's just once you get because God first loved us, we exist to love God and love our neighbors. So that's what we've landed on. It's basically what every church should be about, is loving God, loving neighbor in response to the gospel, the great love God has for us. So before we hear some neighboring stories, I have an analogy for you based on ring.com. Can anyone tell who that is? She's my neighbor, my wife. She counts as a neighbor. And so this is on our Ring device. So when we first started talking about neighboring, which you all, by the way, have latched on to that word, the concept of reclaiming neighboring, we talked about what would it look like if we were the best actual neighbors people had. So like the person that lives to your north or south, west, and east, right in your neighborhood. So we've kind of had that on our mind. Well, some of you live on tons of acreage and your neighbor is like miles away. And so we're wanting to expand the way we think about neighboring. So basically we want to take our motion sensor on our device that picks up neighboring, if you will, right? And expand it so that when you're engaging with your coworker or classmate or that person at the coffee shop, that too is neighboring. So we want to keep working in our neighborhoods, but broaden our sensitivity to the neighboring opportunities around us so we don't miss out on those and lose sight of that. Another way to think about this, so this is all on my Ring. Anyone else have a Ring device? Pretty cool. I can show you Dan coming in and going to my house to fix the faucet. It's awesome. So you can turn on which zones pick up activity and motion. So my encouragement, the analogy for you is maybe you have this zone turned on. Maybe you're really thinking about your neighborhood. Maybe there's a couple spheres of influence in your life. You need to turn on your sensitivity to neighboring opportunities there as well. Maybe it's like the kids in your kids and their classmates' friends, for example. So anyways, I just thought it was a fun analogy. All right, we got 10 minutes or so just to hear from you all. How have you experienced neighboring within the body of Tallgrass Church, or how have you seen others reach out as neighbors? And don't feel like you have to share names if you want to keep things confidential or private, but just an opportunity to share some stories, cast vision for one another, with the idea that neighboring will beget more neighboring. As we head into 2019, we'll continue to sink our roots deep into neighboring. Yeah, that's a good reminder. Neighboring's within the family as well, and so as we continue, we want to trust God to meet our needs within our body, our family, and then have an abundance to continue to pour out beyond these walls and people that as you know, people are hurting and broken, and so there's plenty of need around us. So stay the course, keep going. We're going to sing together. Dave, would you close us in prayer? And
yeah. All right. Dylan wants to make sure everyone knows that you can get pizzas when you leave.
Yeah. Or when you sing.
Or when we're singing? Yeah. Oh. All right. Glad we got that in. All right, let's pray. Lord, I thank you for our church. Thank you for our little group here. I guess in many ways not so little. We thank you that you've given us everything that we need, not only for our own life and for relationship with you, to be able to live lives that are connected again with our Creator. You've also given us everything we need in our church. We thank you that you provide You delight to do so through many means and through one another. We thank you that you've given us one another. So I pray for this year, looking into 2019, we pray that you would provide everything we need to do, the good works that you've got planned for us. We believe you've got good works for Tallgrass this year, that we can walk in. Neighboring stories that are not yet told or not yet anticipated. Pray that you would provide the money when it's needed. Pray that you would provide the people. And also provide us in our hearts with the desire not only to follow you, but to love others. In many ways, that's the real battleground for me, is the desire to really love others. And so I pray that would be the effect of this year, is that you there's this, maybe a shared sense that you're doing something in our hearts where we always kind of talked about wanting to be about neighboring, and we are, and yet you kind of took things to the next level. Give us opportunities and give us the heart to do it. And bring folks to us, please, who need loved up on, who need to know that they are lovable, and that other people could know them, and really know them, and be loved, just as they are. And pray that also you give us opportunities to help them see how that's the way you are, too. Yeah, so we're excited about this year. I'm excited about this year. Amen.
If you don't mind, please stand with us.
This teaching was recorded at Tallgrass Community Church. Because God first loved us, we exist to love God and love our neighbors. For more resources like this, visit tallgrass.church.